Tesla. Second biggest stock for me in the portfolio. So now, first off, before we get into Tesla, like you add up Tesla and you add up Meta, I have over $1 million in just those two stocks, right? And if you know the way I like to position my portfolios, I love to position my portfolios in the strongest of the strong companies. And, when I look at companies like Meta, companies like Tesla, and some of these others that are at the top of the food chain, like these are the strongest companies in the world, in my opinion. Like Tesla to be growing in an environment like we've been going through with very high interest rates, I mean, it's been pretty remarkable that they've still been able to put up growth even in that sort of environment. And when I look at the team that Tesla has, it's there's really no one on the planet that has a team on the engineering side like Tesla does. Like the things they're doing, when you look into the technology of the Cybertruck and you look at how many new technologies they've had to create to build the Cybertruck, it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. Like you can't. There's no word choice to even describe like what they're really up to there and the things they're pulling off. They're doing things that, a lot of people that are experts in these industries thought this is impossible. You can't do this with steel. You can't do this with aerodynamics. You can't do this. You can't do that. And they break through the mold. So Tesla, $405,000. There's another one that became a huge weight in the portfolio once again because it went up so much, right? I mean, we're up $366,000 in the stock, and it's only a $39,000 investment in this portfolio. So when you have these sorts of stocks that are performing this well, they become heavyweights. And I don't worry about it. I mean, if I had put in that much money and it was, Meta and Tesla were this heavy of weights in the public account, I'd worry about it because I'd be like, crap, man, I think I got too overexposed. But because they've gone up so much, I'm not concerned about it. Now, am I looking to buy more Tesla shares in 2024? Do I think Tesla stock will, perform well or bad in 2024? So first off, I am personally not looking to add more Tesla shares unless the stock was to go down, let's say at some point during the year, which is always a possibility. There's a potential where Tesla stock could go down during the year and I add some more shares, right? We saw this. I actually added some shares in this portfolio at that was the beginning of this year. The beginning of this year in 2023, I actually added some more Tesla shares. So if this stock, has some sort of big downfall or something, I'll be there to pick up shares, like absolutely. How do we think the stock will perform in 2024? I'm not expecting a great year for Tesla stock in 2024. I'm expecting a very volatile year in 2024. I think there's going to be a lot of concern still about high interest rates, demand. I think that's still going to be a talk of EV demand. And I think that's going to be still a debate out there in 2024. Cybertruck, and does it take them a long time to get that thing ramped? If they don't really have it ramped very much in Q1, the bears are going to be saying they can't ramp it, it's impossible, this and that, right? That's what they're going to say. Like if Tesla doesn't come out the gates running in Q1 with Cybertruck, that's what the bears are going to run with the narrative. Tesla can't produce this thing. They only produce 8,000 units, 5,000 units, 10,000 units, whatever the number is, right? They can't do it. Elon messed up this time. That's going to be the debate. And so that could obviously get Tesla stock. So I wouldn't be surprised if, Tesla's one of those stocks that maybe it runs down, then runs back up. And overall for the year, it doesn't make a huge upward or downward move by the end of the year, essentially, right? It goes through this and even 2019 was a little bit like that for Tesla. And there was a huge Model 3 ramp year, and Tesla stock was kind of up and down throughout that year. If I recall, it ended up being a good year in 2019, but it was a very up and down year for Tesla, if I recall back then. So anyways, that's kind of my expectations with Tesla, and that's where I'm at. I'm extremely excited about the long term with Tesla. There's no doubt about that. 2024 I think can still be shaky, but I'm so excited about that one for the next 5-10 years, okay? Speaking about spectacles, Tesla's always a spectacle, right? And, several big news items that we got to touch on here. One is, and this one I can't even believe I got to talk about, but I got to talk about it. This happened 2 days ago. Oh my gosh, all over the internet, it's gone viral. Tesla recalls nearly all 2 million of its vehicles on U.S. roads. Holy smokes, this ain't no dang jokers. This was everywhere, man. Every big mainstream media picked this up. Everybody was sharing it out there. Holy smokes. By the way, automakers have recalls all the time, and it never makes headlines, but Tesla, once again, it's like the most viral thing ever, okay? So they got this recall, right? And everybody's talking about this and making it out like it's such a big deal, and oh my gosh, this is going to cost Tesla a fortune, and this and that, right? It's an over-the-air update. An over-the-air update. Are you kidding me? The fix, the recall, it's an over-the-air update? I mean, geez, you would have thought Tesla needed to replace all the cars or something like that. The way mainstream media made it sound, wasn't the flip and flash. And then what are the details around this, which I think is really important? Like, what actually happened here, okay? Here's the details. In accordance with the recent recall, all the numbers are there, Tesla is making the following improvements to auto steer. Improved visibility of driver monitoring warning alerts on the touchscreen by increasing the text size and moving the notifications to a more prominent position in the Model 3 and Model Y only. Added option to activate autopilot features with a single stalk depression instead of two. So previously you would have to hit it two, I guess, and that's with some models. Now you hit it one time. To help simplify activation and disengagement, which I do agree with that personally, because and that's something you don't even have in all the vehicles, but there's certain ones you do have. For instance, the Model X is like that. The Model X is like that. The 2020 Model X I have. So that one, if you wanted to do autopilot, you had to hit it twice. Now, one time, this even actually happened to me. I accidentally only hit it once, and it went on to, basically where, what would we call it? The thing, cruise control. But it didn't activate the steering. And then I put it on that because I needed to look. I think I needed to look at my phone or something real quick, or grab something in the car. And next thing you know, the car started swerving, and I was like, "Oh, what the heck?" And I just realized, "Oh shoot, I only hit it one time. I didn't activate it twice, so therefore, the car started swerving, and whatever." So I think that's in my opinion, based upon how I understand that, I think that's intelligent. Increase the strictness of driver attentiveness requirements when using auto steer and approaching traffic lights and stop signs and signs off highway. Okay. Introduced a suspension policy that will restrict auto steer usage for 1 week if improper usage is detected. Oh, okay. Interesting. Improper usage is when you or another driver of your vehicle receive 5 forced autopilot disengagements. Interesting. Okay. This is real rules and regulations here, okay? Interesting. You are the driver. As a driver, you must be vigilant on the road, keep your hands on the wheel, and ready to intervene to maintain safety. Yeah. So, I mean, this is like the biggest sleepy story that made mainstream media ever. I mean, my gosh, it's an over-the-air update. There's nothing like, oh, wow, this is game-changing. But once again, it's Tesla, so it makes the headlines, okay? That's that. This is a bigger deal, much bigger deal, in my personal opinion. And this came out, there's been a lot of talk about this in the last 48 hours or so. Tesla to lose $7,500 consumer tax credit for some Model 3 vehicles. Okay, what the heck is going on here? Well, out of Reuters here, but everybody's covered this. Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive and long-range vehicles will lose up to $7,500 federal tax credit on December 31st, based on new guidance under the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. A message the U.S. automaker's website showed late Tuesday. The U.S. Treasury issued guidelines earlier this month detailing new battery sourcing restrictions to take effect January 1st, aimed at weaning the U.S. electric vehicle supply chain away from China. Okay. Tax credit will end Model 3 rear-wheel drive and Model 3 long-range on December 31st, 2023, based on current view of the new IRA guidance. Take delivery by December 31st for full tax credit, Tesla saying on the website. Now, okay, so, and by the way, in April, the Treasury said new guidelines will slash credits for the EV maker. Okay. Listen, okay? I think Tesla's using this, my personal opinion is, I think Tesla's using this as a little bit of a sales bump. I think Tesla's going to make some adjustments likely, and next year they'll likely be able to get their tax credit again. I think they're right now using this as like, oh, the government's going to take this away from us, so you better order now. Which, by the way, I do personally believe if you are in the market for a Model 3, Model Y, you better freaking buy now. That's my personal opinion. Between the tax credits, because I'm telling you, if this economy starts getting healthier in 2024 and into 2025, Tesla's going back up on those cars. They're going to go back up. Their margins will revert back up again. That's what they will do. You just watch. And so All I'm saying is if you're in the market for the vehicle, I would get it. But I do believe that Tesla's using this as a little bit of a sales ploy. Of like, oh, the government's taking this away from us. You better get it now or you're not going to get your $7,500. That's my belief. I believe Tesla will make adjustments. And next thing you know, next year, they'll have the same tax credits that all the other EV players have. So that's just my thought process on this. I think other changes will be made. Something will happen and Tesla will be fine. But for right now, Tesla's going to use that up. So people want to order as many Model 3s and stuff into the year end, right? Because obviously Tesla's in the business of as much volume as possible, right? So Tesla, I think, using this to their advantage. That's my opinion on that, okay? Next up here, this came out here today. Tesla secures $135 million in incentive for Gigafactory Mexico despite delaying the factory. Tesla has secured roughly $135 million worth of incentives for Gigafactory Mexico despite the delay in construction of the factory, right? And my belief is, I do believe that factory is still happening, by the way. I believe, we'll see, but I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I would just put it like that. And the reason being is I'm looking at the United States situation here, and I don't think it's a good one for the auto sector for the next 10 to 20 years. UAW is out there fighting everybody right now. They're asking for, they've obviously got Ford, GM, and these other guys to obviously up their wages substantially, right? Which is going to raise basically the cost of making a vehicle substantially. Because who's actually paying? Ford, GM, all these workers, great, they make a bunch more money. Okay, cool. Who's paying for that? Is it going to be Ford and GM? Is it going to be UAW? Who's paying for it? You're paying for it. You're paying for it. The next time you go buy a new F-150, you're going to pay for it the next time you go buy a Tahoe, something like that. And maybe you're not going to buy that, buy a Model X instead, okay, and then buy a Cybertruck. But let's say hypothetically you were going to buy, the consumer is the one that's going to pay for that. You think Ford and GM are just going to say, oh, we'll take the hit on that? No, of course not. They're going to go up on price, which, by the way, is going to hurt their downfall even more in a substantial way when you got Tesla being very aggressive on price. And then these guys are going to, if anything, go up on price, right? And so the bottom line is UAW, this came out this week, right, files unfair labor charges against Volkswagen, Hyundai, and Honda as well. I just don't see this situation getting better, really. And I think this is going to hurt the auto sector in the United States of America substantially. I think you're going to see production move down to Mexico substantially over the next 10 years. We won't see it next year. It's going to happen over the next 10 years. And don't be surprised if the amount of vehicles made inside the United States drops substantially over the next decade. And I mean substantially. And just watch what's going to happen in Mexico. The amount of vehicles made in Mexico over the next 10 years will likely go up substantially. It's going to be a 10-year game, though, but you just watch. I'm watching everything play out, and I see the future in regards to what's going to happen here, okay? And I can tell you, it's going down to Mexico. Tesla. So, Tesla. What an incredible company. When you really think about Tesla, right? And then we'll get to Tom Lee and the ramifications that has for a lot of stocks and what this means for a lot of stocks and all those things in just a moment, okay? Tesla. Think about this for a moment, right? Great financial crisis, this company was on the verge of bankruptcy, right? They had no products in the market. Then they had to learn as a company how to scale a Model S. Then they had to learn how to scale a Model X. Then after that, they had to learn how to scale a very top-selling vehicle in the Model 3. Then they had to learn how to scale an SUV that's similar to a Model 3 in the Model Y and expand their business then international with gigafactories all over the world. Now they're in the Cybertruck, and you look what the engineers have done with this company, and look what they've done throughout recessions and throughout even, let's call it, a horrible time for kind of the auto market here over the past year, especially when it comes to interest rates, right? And yet they've made it through. And even though they've had to cut prices and even all the stuff that surrounded Elon Musk, which that's a whole circus in itself all the time, right? Elon and the publicity and negative and, and Tesla, every single time something happens negative with Tesla, it's all over the internet. 1 million people are sharing it. People that don't even really care about Tesla. We're texting me today about Tesla has 2 million vehicles or all their vehicles forever made. They got a recall out there, and it's like, you realize that's an over-the-air update. Like they can literally knock that out, right? And it's just like, Like, whoever text other people about a recall? That doesn't happen. There's recalls all the time in vehicles, but Tesla, it's big news. And so you think about everything this company's been through, and yet coming out of that, they end up emerging stronger and stronger and stronger. And so this time period we're going through right now will eventually end, and then the company will emerge stronger and stronger and stronger. And if I think about, they've just been through a lot, man, and yet they always make it out to the other side. And then, next thing you know, everybody and their grandma wants to own Tesla stock. And so that to me is quality. If I see a team in place, that is quality, folks, quality. And so the truth is, you can't listen to the mob. You can't listen to Wall Street. You can't listen to either of these guys, because both sides think they know everything that's going on, but they really don't. They really just don't. They try to make all these predictions and, jump on this side, and it's all bullish, all bearish, and it's unrealistic, man. Neither side actually really knows much of what's actually going on, okay? You can play this game very simply. If I see undervalued assets that are good assets, I buy those assets. If I see fairly valued assets that are great assets, I buy those assets. If I see overvalued assets, I don't buy. If I see bad assets, I don't buy. It's a very simple game. If you look at the video I put out yesterday, right, and you go through the public count, I own a ridiculous amount of the best assets in the world. In the world. And that's where I have the majority of my money. And then I'll take a few smaller risks on assets that are not great assets right now, but I think are going to be great assets in the future. But if you look at where all my big dog money is, I own the greatest assets in the world. The type of companies that will perform well in any environment. High inflation, low inflation, bad consumer sentiment, good consumer sentiment. Doesn't matter. These companies are so well run. They're so phenomenal as assets. They're going to perform, right? The probability of what I think will actually happen in 2024, okay? There'll likely be a Q1 sell-off at some point in time. It's got a lot of people, made a lot of money in a lot of certain stocks, and some of those people are probably going to take some profits at some point in the first quarter, right? Plus, we're kind of in a little bit of a Goldilocks time right now. People are going to start talking about the bearish stance again and again and again at some point in Q1. So we'll probably have a Q1 sell-off at some point. Be prepared for that. That'll probably happen, right? Then real wages will likely uptick very nicely for the first time in a long time, as in years, in 2024, which is going to be very helpful to small business sentiment, to consumer sentiment. That's going to be huge overall. Inflation will likely be down substantially year over year. You can't predict inflation 2 years out, 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out. It's impossible. But you can predict inflation for the next 6, 12 months. And everything I look at, inflation is going to be down very nicely year over year in 2024. There's nothing, absolutely nothing, that makes me say, oh, inflation is going to be a big problem for us over the next 6, 12 months. Nothing. And I look at everything. Big tech earnings will likely be very strong. You'll see likely very nice earnings per share growth from almost all of the big dog companies throughout 2024. And small caps will likely roll pretty heavy in the year overall. That's what's likely to play out in the stock market in 2024. To play the price target game is a little bit of a fool's game, in my personal opinion. You got to say what's kind of realistic here. The price target, so much can change, so much sentiment can change. So what are people willing to pay for stocks? That could change dramatically. We got so much money in treasuries. What if some of that money starts to come into stocks where you're not going to have a lot of selling pressure, and all of a sudden you got all this buying pressure from all the sideline money? What happens if you start to get some FOMO in 24? What happens when these Wall Street firms, one by one, maybe starts to realize maybe we were a little too bearish, and maybe we should consider the other side a little bit, right? And for me, I just sit back and I'm just like, I don't care. Like, give me whatever happens in this game. Give me S&P 500 4,200. Give me S&P 500 3,200. My put options, my hedges are going to print money. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'll take that. And then what I would be able to get assets at, great assets, I mean, it would just be like the biggest gift. I don't think that's going to play out, but I would love it. 4,200, give me it. Probably not happening. I will gladly freaking take it. 5,000, okay, whatever. Whatever the situation is, it's perfect for me. Down market, hedges print money, huge buying opportunities, great. Flat line, there's a lot of opportunities in this market. I get to continue to take advantage of the opportunities. Stock market goes up a ton, great as well. That means I make a fortune. Anyway, I'm set. And you can play this game very simply, okay? Don't get all like these other folks do, because they get wild, man. They get wild. And their predictions, it's end, oh my gosh, and they all jump on. And they're a mob. They're both sides of the mob. Retail's a mob, and Wall Street's a mob as well. That's the best part. Both are. And they both follow each other around. And if they all say we're going bullish, we'll all go bullish. If they all say we're going bearish, we'll all go bearish. Like, it's the game, man. Appreciate y'all joining me as always. Much love. Thanks so much, folks.